Hello and welcome to this GSMA webinar on 5G new calling and the future of communication services. I'm David Pringle, the moderator for today's webinar. So to explore the potential of 5G new calling, I'm joined by our keynote speakers. So we have Yu Song, he's from the Department of Network and IT Technology Research at China Mobile. And we have Huey Hu, Vice President of CS and IMS Domain, Cloud Core Network product line at Huawei, and Wayne Cutler, Technical Director at the GSMA. And we also have two further experts to join us for the panel discussion. We have Sergio Nobrega, he's an IT engineering specialist at Itaú Unibanco, and Javed Abdurrahim, Mobile Networks Senior Specialist, Network Engineering Division at Zain Kuwait. But first, I'm just going to briefly explain what 5G new calling is. So, drawing on new 3GPP standards, new calling enables operators' voice and video calls to be enriched by real-time translations, animations, avatars, stickers, photos, and other digital content, such as labels and business cards. So users can also easily share their location or their screen during a call or play a game with the person they're speaking to. So a lot of rich functionality there. So in this webinar, we're going to discuss both the market context and demand, how new calling will evolve, the value propositions for consumers and businesses, use cases, potential business models, and possible barriers to adoption. So the webinar is going to start with some short presentations from our speakers ahead of the panel discussion. So we're going to hear from Wayne first, and he's going to explain how 5G new calling works and touch on the value it could create. So over to Wayne.
Thanks, David. So I'm going to talk about the GSMA Foundry in general and also the 5G new calling white paper, which was a Foundry project. So next slide. Yeah, so GSMA Foundry is an initiative started by the GSMA to provide a framework for companies to come together to form ad hoc groups to discuss issues of mutual interest, solutions, problems. They tend to be they're ad hoc groups. They're focused. They have a short lifetime, and they end up with some sort of report or white paper, as indeed is the case in this one. So this particular Foundry project was started coming out of Mobile World Congress back in early this year, sort of February time, March time. The key companies are at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen there. You can see we've got a good cross-section in the industry with mobile network operators, infrastructure providers, device manufacturers, chipset providers, application software company, as well as a financial services company to represent the verticals. In addition, they also asked me to mention a number of large European and Japanese operators who weren't directly involved in the white paper, but they did provide feedback and review. And it also helps to show the global nature of 5G new calling. So in terms of the white paper itself, it covers a number of topics, as can be seen in the sub-bullets on the left-hand side of the slide. So we covered a bunch of use cases and examples, both in the consumer and enterprise markets, things like augmented reality calling with virtual backgrounds and avatars, smart translation, so speech to speech, speech to text, content sharing using the IMS data channel capability, which I'll touch on in the standardization part, call ID verification, also some advanced services like social gaming. In standardization, we talk about progress made in 3GPP. So as David mentioned, 5G new calling builds on the 3GPP standards for MMTEL multimedia telephony based on IMS as the service control platform. And IMS, of course, is the basis for VoLTE, Voice over LTE, and VONRA, Voice over NR. I guess the main enhancement to the standards is the addition of the IMS data channel that I mentioned earlier. And this is a capability to add a data stream channel to the IMS session in addition to the voice and video channels. This enables data to be exchanged between users in the cloud in any format, and it enables a richer experience. In addition, we mentioned work going on in GSMA itself in our working groups, the networks group and the terminal steering group. The latter group looks after devices and is working on an IMS data channel API. The former group has a profile of the IMS data channel in our PRD NG134, which builds on IR92 and NG114 PRDs, which respectively describe voice over LTE and voice over NR. In terms of product readiness, we look at where the industry is or where the ecosystem is, covering all aspects of the networks, devices, chipsets, applications. And we also, there's also a key point that 5G new calling will be rolled out in 2 phases. The first phase will use the existing video channel capability of IMS, and then the second channel adds the IMS data channel to provide richer exchange and enriched calling. In terms of proof from concepts and trials, we describe a couple of services, a couple of trials in Kuwait. Zain are doing, which I'm sure the speaker will touch on later, covering smart translation and smart menu. So smart menu is replacing the old way of going through a menu where you're given an audio indication and you hit your digit to drive through. Instead, you're provided with a screen, and you can use the touch screen on your device to go through the menu. So it's a much quicker and cleaner way to go through the menu. And finally, for this slide, there's a QR code on the right hand side there. The white paper isn't quite ready. There's a few bits of beatification going on, but if you go to that QR code, you can pre-order your copy, and you'll get a copy as and when it comes out. So next slide. Yeah, so this is off the 5G new calling part on the GSMA website. There's a number of case studies there covering those 3 topics. I won't really talk about them much because I think they'll be covered at least in part in the main presentations to come. And again, the QR codes are there, so please go there and download them. Next slide. Yeah, this is just a GSMA Foundry. So I've already mentioned what GSMA Foundry is, and there's a QR code there to go and learn more about the Foundry. So please take a look. I think this white paper will be, or has been, the first Foundry project related to 5G new calling, and it won't be the last because this is a major topic. So anyway, go and have a look and check it out. That's my last slide, and I'd like to hand over to a Song Yu of China Mobile. Thank you.
Thank you, Wayne. And thank you, David. I'm Yu Song from China Mobile, and I'm really happy to be here to share some insights and practice of the China Mobile on the 5G new calling with you. And next, please. I would like to start with a quick look back on the history of the mobile communication networks. Well, in the 1980s, we have the first generation of mobile network. With that, we replaced the wired communication with wireless communication, which was great. And in the next generation, which is the second generation, we have replaced the analog voice with digital voice. And then in 3G era, we have the video call service for the first time on top of the voice communication. And then in 4G, we updated from the standard definition video call to high definition video call. So our network updates every 10 years to a new generation, which looks great, right? But if you think twice on this history, you may find a problem that in the recent 10 years, basically there's no upgrade regarding the service features that we can provide it from the operators. I mean, the service qualities has been improved greatly from the standard definition to high definition, both video and voice. However, there's almost new service logics which can be provided by the operator. Now in the 5G era, we have to say it's about time to make a change. So in the 5G era, we have the super wide bandwidth, super low latency, and we have the highly developed technologies such as artificial intelligence. So what we will provide here in 5G for real-time communication will not only be focused on the very basic communication between humans, voice and video call. It's far beyond that. So the services provided in the 5G new calling era could be divided into three main scenarios. The first one is for the individuals, which is individual consumers. For instance, we may have the services which can improve the efficiency between the communication between humans. Like if there are some people who cannot have a common language, for instance, English, how can they make a phone call to each other and to understand each other? We can have real-time translation for the voice call. And you can have the text translated from the speech shown on the screen. That will improve the efficiency of the communication between humans. And another example is that for the young generations, they may have the requirement to improve the interest part of the communication. We don't want to have a plain video of the peer shown on the screen. They may need to have some emojis, some cartoon characters replace their faces shown on the screen just for fun. So for the young generations, there will be much more new features can be provided during the real-time communication. And also for the old generations, they may have problem with operating the smartphone. So if you can have a remote assistance with on operating of the cell phones, it could be great. And the second big scenario is for the enterprises, which means we are now not only focusing on the consumer market, but also the vertical markets. As mentioned by Wayne just now, that for the video-based customer services, we can replace the IVR menu with visible menu, and you can simply touch the menu to enter the whatever you want. And also for the public sectors, the new service requirement could be that we may send the accident report via real-time digital channel for efficient event handling, which can improve the efficiency of the public sectors. All of these are some potential use cases. Some of them can be provided now and some of them may be provided later, but all of these features, we call them 5G new calling. Next slide. And here are some key technologies which the 5G new calling system are built based on. And the first technology is the VoNR Plus capability platform, as mentioned by Wayne as well. It will integrate the network functionalities such as the call routing, the media handling, and also the artificial intelligence capabilities into one platform, and to expose these features as APIs towards the third-party services. Which means hundreds of different services can be built on this set of APIs exposed by the vulnerable capability platform. And the second one is the one MS network with 3 channels. Here, 3 channels means we have the legacy voice, video, and now in the 5G era, we have a real-time data channel, which is MS data channel that can be established along with current video core. And within that data channel, you can simply transfer every possible payload which can support the service. And the third technology is the artificial intelligence. And for many of the new service requirement, for instance, the real-time translation and maybe the real-time video monitoring, we need the AI to assist us for certain service logic. And that will be a key part for the whole architecture, which can be integrated at the media plane of the whole network. And the last one is the container for the applet on the cell phone, which means you don't need to upgrade your terminals or devices every time there is a new service available. You simply create a voice or video call as normal, and the cell phone will download the corresponding application, applet from the network and run it immediately. You don't need to install applications. You don't need to update your cell phone, and you get everything. So all these new key technologies will form the basis for the 5G new calling network. Next slide. And here I would like to share some practices that China Mobile has taken to promote the maturity of the 5G new calling. First, from the standard point of view, we have worked as the Raptor for the NGRTC work item in 3GPP release 18, and now in release 19, during the preliminary just ended last week, we successfully create the new study item in release 19 on NGRTC phase 2. We will be focused on the improvement of the NGRTC network. And also in other standardization groups like GSMA, ITU, and also within China in CCSA, we are promoting the specifications regarding 5G new calling in parallel. And from the network point of view, we have done the network testing of VoNR Plus, which is the basis of 5G new calling, for 2 years. And now we have some trial network in several provinces like Zhejiang, Jiangsu, and Guangdong. And also on the terminal side, we have promoted the maturity of the devices to support the 5G new calling feature. And now we have more than 100 types of the existing video call capable terminals available for the initial phase of the 5G new calling service. And also we have more than 10 types of the terminals which can support the MS data channel now. And next slide. Here are some brief plan for the launch of 5G new calling in our network. As I mentioned, in June this year, we have launched some 5G new calling services in some provinces for trial. And the plan is by the end of this year, we will launch the full site of the first phase of 5G new calling service across the network within China, including the fan calling, which you can replace the faces, you can show some emojis during the video call, and we have speech-to-text conversion, we have Chinese-English translation, and voice-controlled emojis. And beyond that, in next year and even further, we will launch more services like shown on the screen, not only for the consumer market, but also in the vertical markets. And next, please. So what's we can say is that we have all the necessary technologies for 5G new calling on the desk. And what we need now is just some imaginations. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you. Now I hand over to Hu Yun.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Songyue. Hello, distinguished everyone present. I'm Huey, Huawei New Calling Product Executive. I'm delighted to have the opportunity to discuss with you about 5G New Calling. Mr. Songyue has just presented the development of communication technology over the past decades. As for carriers' core services, most carriers around the world have only offered voice call services. Now, the leading operators are exploring 5G new calling, leveraging the advancements in 5G, AI, and also new data channel technologies to provide users with a more personalized and differentiated service experience. Today, I would like to introduce 3 key capabilities of 5G new calling network, which are high-definition video, intelligence, and interaction. Next slide, please. First, the introduction of 5G new calling revolutionizes the video channel. Currently, carrier network's video channel is only used for traditional video calls, which means only camera streams can be transmitted. And the video calls are usually limited to acquaintances due to user habits and concerns about personal privacy. However, since acquaintances often had social connections that overlap with OTT scenarios, so the demand for video channels on the carrier network remains low, which means there is no additional value being brought to carrier. And the 5G new calling network enables unidirectional video capability. During a voice call, the network plays content such as avatars or corporate images to the other party mobile phone screen. Users do not need to activate their cameras. This allows users to meet their unique and personalized needs without any concerns about personal privacy. Additionally, carriers and content providers can benefit from the content operations and monetize video channel capabilities. Next slide, please. Second, 5G new calling bring AI capabilities to operators' networks, enhancing communication experience. For instance, China Mobile, as Songyue has mentioned, will introduce an intelligent translation service where network AI translates conversations in real time and displays subtitles on the mobile phone screen. This innovative translation service is offered from network side, which eliminates the need for special functions on device or app installations. With the help of AI capabilities, carriers networks can offer user a delightful calling experience. For example, where a user asks "Happy birthday," the network side can play cake rain special efforts on the screens of both mobile phones. For another example, as mentioned above, the network side can play a digital person image to the other party during a voice call. Thanks to AI capability, the digital person's lips and expressions can dynamically change in sync with the user's voice. In the future, with the development of AI large models, users can call AI assistants during a conversation for answers to any questions they may have. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Thanks. Last but not least, oh, sorry. Could you back? Yeah, okay. Last but not least, with 5G new calling, users can now enjoy interactive capability and even close services during their calls. This amazing feature has the potential to revolutionize B2C business processes and also the value chains. Let's explore the case of remote damage assessment in auto insurance industry. In the traditional process, a damage assessor has to physically visit the accident site to assess the damage. In the Chinese market, on-site damage assessments cost over $50 on average and take approximately 2 hours. According to insurance companies' statistics, approximately 60% of accidents only result in vehicle damage and without any casualties involved. In such cases, insurance companies simply require some information collection, including accident scene photos, vehicle damage photos, as well as owner's personal details. And the insurance companies are key on reducing costs and improving efficiency through remote damage assessment. The OTT vendors in China, they have launched the remote damage assessment app. However, there is no social relationship between the vehicle owner and the insurance company. As a result, the vehicle owner still needed to make an initial call to the insurance company through the carrier network. The insurance company then guides the vehicle owner on how to download and use the app. Once downloaded, both parties will switch to using the app. The OTT solution has been launched for 3 years, but the effect does not live up to the expectation. The remote damage assessment rate can only reach maximum 10%. Why? Because most vehicle owners are not in the mood to accept complex interactions, such as downloading, learning, and operating apps when they experience an accident. They simply desire insurance companies to provide on-site service as soon as possible. And for carriers, this OTT solution only charges a 1-minute call fee. So we can see the vehicle owner, the insurance company, and the operator are all dissatisfied. Thanks to data channel interaction capability of 5G new calling, the vehicle owner now can easily upload the vehicle damage photos and personal details through the data channel mini program when making their first call to the insurance company. This convenient feature allows them to complete remote damage assessment during a call. According to our trial, the new calling solution can increase the remote damage assessment rate to over 50%. For vehicle owners, the average time for damage assessment is only 6 minutes. And for insurance companies, the average cost of an order has decreased from $50 to $8. The carriers can check out new business models to share the benefits of reduced costs rather than just the traditional call fees. And we call this business model value operations. The remote damage assessment is just one example among many industry applications. The data channel interaction functions can be widely utilized across various industries, such as call centers, customer hotlines, as well as remote installation and maintenance, even restaurant ordering. This will greatly enhance efficiency and reduce costs for enterprises. Next slide, please. To summarize, operators' core networks are transitioning from 5G voice to 5G advanced new calling, incorporating 3 additional network capabilities: high-definition video, intelligence, and interaction. These enhancements will enable various innovative services that offer personalized and differentiated calling experience for consumers, while also improving efficiency and reducing costs for enterprises. The carriers can check out content operations with video and AI capabilities, and also the value operations with data channel capabilities. With the further evolution of networks, Huawei believes that in the future 6G era, carriers' core networks will realize multimodal communication, enabling intelligent communication among human, machines, and intelligence. Next slide, please. So this is my final slide. Huawei will collaborate with industry partners to explore and promote the 5G new calling industry with the joint efforts of standards organizations, carriers, equipment vendors like Huawei, and chip terminal companies, as well as content providers. Carrier communication networks will continue to generate greater value for society. And the delivery of my speech has been completed. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Huey, and thank you as well to our other speakers for setting the scene so ably. So we're now going to have a panel discussion, and we've got two additional speakers that are going to join Song Yu and Huey Hugh for this panel discussion. As I mentioned, that's Sergio from Itaú and Javed from Zain Kuwait. So let's start with you, Javed, and discuss a little bit about what you see as the potential for 5G new calling in Kuwait and the Middle East. So give us your perspective on the potential here.
Yes, David, thank you. This is Jawad from Zain Kuwait. So when we hear all these things, we can see this is the beginning of the big things, right? So there is a potential on the new calling. As we see this, like from the VoLTE, VoNR, there is a spike in the usage, right? In the same way, I can able to say that this new calling can bring the new business to the operators like Zain Kuwait. Thank you.
Thanks, Javed. So we'll come back to a little bit of that when we get into the discussion. Now, I'd also like to hear from Sergio about the potential of 5G new calling in financial services. I mean, obviously, this is a big sector of the economy. So how could financial services put 5G new calling to use?
Hello, David. I believe 5G provides communication among channels, because I believe that our customers need to feel freedom to interact with us in the way that is most convenient to them. Now, I need make easier the customer life is our goals today. And when think about 5G new calling, I think about some features to improve the experience my customers. For example, I can see the security in 5G. It can help to implement new controllers to make communication more safer, such as LID, like a digital signature that identify who is calling, and this could avoid frauds such as spoofing. Nowadays in Brazil, spoofing is a big problem. And in my opinion, the potential is more security in my segment, because the features can improve cause more security for the customers and for the industry financial, and the freedom to customers connect in the channel is better for that. In my opinion, this is are some pain points that can be solved with 5G.
Thanks, Sergio. We'll come back to a little bit of that, but it's partly about building trust, I think, between the bank and its customers, I guess, in these interactions. So let's just building on the presentations from Huey and Yu Song in particular, let's just talk about what we see as the most compelling use cases. Obviously, there's a lot of rich functionality here, but what's going to resonate most with end users? Yu Song, you've been testing this now in China. So what do you see as the most compelling use cases from a consumer point of view?
Yes, from the consumer point of view, in the short term, the most compelling service could be the real-time translation. Here, translation means between different languages, as mentioned, from voice to voice, but for different languages. Another kind is to translate the speech into text or vice versa. So this is this is a service which can improve the communication efficiency in a real way that we can see from the 5G new calling. Also, we have some fun calling features like to replace your face with some cartoon characters or to show some emojis on the screen. These things are fine, I admit, but it's mostly for fun. It will not improve the communication efficiency really. So in my point of view, the real-time translation could be the very compelling service in short term.
Got it. Thanks, Yusong. Hugh, just building on that, real-time translation, it could be valuable to both businesses and, well, travelers and students as well, I guess. So, how big is that market from your perspective?
Yeah, so we also do some survey in Thailand. Every year there are more than 1 million Chinese travelers to Thailand, and so all of them are, I think, keen on such kind of amazing functions. And also, it's not only some language to language, even just voice to text. So, for example, in Chinese market, this function can help the elderly, and there are, I think, tens of millions of elder people, and they are not very good at hearing at the moment. So even the voice to text, some big font will help them a lot. And furthermore, for example, for some hearing impaired, we can implement voice to sign language. As I said, Aventa. The Aventa with the AI capability, we can implement voice to sign language to help those hearing impaired. So I think there will be a big market and a lot of smart guys. They will find more business than far away from today our discussion. Yeah.
Thanks, Huey. If I could just stay with you for a second to drill down on that, actually. So I assume a lot of that functionality is enabled by artificial intelligence. So first of all, what kind of accuracy do you get? And presumably that will improve over time as well, will it?
Yeah.
Sorry, Hugh, do you want to comment on that, or?
Sorry, pardon.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying that presumably, what kind of level of accuracy do you get with the real-time translation or the sign language functionality you mentioned? Is it, and presumably because it's using artificial intelligence, it will improve over time, I guess.
Yeah. So we deploy AI capabilities just in the network side. So I think the current experience is already as expected.
Great. No, thanks, Huey. Javad, let's come to you and talk a bit about what you see as the most compelling use cases or potential use cases in your market.
Yes.
What's going to capture the imagination of your customers?
Yes, the most one is the translation, as you said, because that is the most compelling use case I can able to see. And then the smart menu, which will help the B2B as well as B2C.
Yeah, let's just explain that a little bit further. So the smart menu is this concept of where the business can share information. If it's a restaurant, it can share a menu.
Yes, restaurant menu or bank menu or something like that. Yes.
Yeah, right. So it's supporting the conversation with information.
Correct. Instead of staying on the IVR, for that one, you can go directly into the menu, right?
Yeah.
That will be the better option for the customer as well as for the business.
Yeah, got it. And just on the fun calling side of things that Yusong mentioned, do you see demand for that in the Middle East?
Yeah, for the youngster, yes, for sure. That is the third priority. But when you say on the priority level, yes, for the first is the translation, then the smart menu, and then there's animations.
Got it. Thank you. Right, Yusong, if I can come back to you, actually, I talk a little bit about the value proposition for consumers, above and beyond what they might get from internet platforms or OTT type apps. So, you know, what does 5G new calling bring specifically that they can't get from the existing internet players, for example?
I think if you're talking about the features, I have to admit that currently we have quite an amount of useful features can be provided by OTT, that I have to admit. And for 5G new calling, we still need to introduce more features. That is one thing. But on the other side, for the services you used via operator-provided 5G new calling is much safer. I mean, better from the security point of view comparing with the OTTs. That is my view. For instance, as if you are using this for the bank account services, or the you want to subscribe to some new services from the bank, and the operator on the bank sites may require some information. I mean, very personal information of the customer. For instance, the ID card number, or the bank account number, or the signature of the customers. This kind of information could be very privacy. And if you use the OTT channel to transfer this kind of information, well, the customers may have some concern on the security, but if you are using the operator network, my point of view, my thinking is that operators can also always be trustable, right? So that is one thing. And the other valuable point, as also mentioned by Huying, is that almost all the OTT applications require a context to be able to create the communication. I mean, you must be in the body list of my application and vice versa, so that we can have a conversation. Otherwise, it's impossible. However, for the operators 5G new calling, you just need a number. No matter this number is familiar, unfamiliar, it doesn't matter. You just need to dial a number, and that's it. You will create the communication between the peers, and that is the other thing. And yeah.
Yeah, no, got it. Thanks. So you're actually reducing a lot of friction for the consumer because they don't have to download a new app or subscribe to a new or register for a new service. Huey, yeah, just building on that with you, if I may. From your perspective, you know, do you see this as a chance for operators to rebuild their presence in the communications market? From a strategic perspective, how important is that?
Yeah, so I believe so, because as Mr. Song has said, the reachability is very important, because normally there's no social link between those consumers and the enterprise, especially for service industry, right? So there's a lot of app needed to be installed for OTT solutions. And this app, you need also check if they are online, if they are accessible at any time. But for the carrier network, the reachability will be the first, I think, advantage. And the safe is another hand, as Mr. Song has just said. And for example, if we look at some service industry cases, remote repair, I think also a good case. Most of the problems, I think, that users cannot solve by themselves are very simple faults for experts. So through the data channel interactive course, maintenance engineering just can remote view faults and guide users to solve most of those simple problems. And for those, even for those complex issues, the maintenance engineering can also identify which spare parts to be repaired before they do some on-site service, just to avoid repeated on-site services. So I think a lot of vertical industry, they will get benefit from new calling capabilities. I think that will allow the carriers to get more and more, I think, new opportunities to further develop the B2C market.
Great, thanks, Huey. Now, I just come back to you, Javed, on what you're seeing in the Middle East and Kuwait in particular, in terms of competition from OTT players, and whether 5G new calling gives you a clear advantage over that competition. How do you see
Yes,
that?
yes, for sure. Because as Song explained that one, the security, as the customers will always trust the operator, right? Once we are providing this service, that means it's really secure. So from my point of view, yes, that is the main point where we can go into the market saying that this is the secure way of communicating either to your bank or any other where you're sharing your personal information, right? Not through the any other OTTs.
Got it. Thanks, Javed. Yeah, this is a reoccurring theme about the trust and security, I think, around these services. So, Sergio, let's bring you in on the value proposition for businesses. Obviously, you're a bank, you're financial services. You touched on this in your opening remarks. It's partly about combating spoofing and building a trusted channel with the consumer. So, essentially, from your point of view, how valuable is that? Is it something that you would be prepared to pay for, essentially?
Okay. Well, I think with 5G associated with generative AI can help us to create a new product. I can create an immersive experience and solve the issues in a single contact. I create new products, reduce expenses the customers. I can, by utilizing customers' localization, for example, a product or service can help the customer find what suits the best and is located nearby. It's an example I can use the 5G. I see this moment that we are living a great opportunity to implement new capabilities in the network and is improve and change the degree of relationship we have with our customers.
Yeah, so essentially, this is partly about giving customers that assurance and peace of mind that they get from a dedicated, secure channel. Let's build on that with you, Song, actually, because you've been testing this concept, obviously, in China, and the insurance case that you mentioned is a good example of that, I guess. So let's just, from the insurance company's perspective, let's just talk a little bit about how widely this could be deployed and how widely it could be used. Could this be the primary way they communicate with their customers? What do you think about that?
Well, I think it could be a really good use case at least in our network. You know that for the insurances, I almost see every day that some car accidents and people make phone calls to the call centers of the insurance companies and explaining what is happening here or that. My car or vehicle is damaged, or even somebody is injured. And if you have real-time information sent to the call center, it will save much time of all of the people. So I think, as you know, that we have many big cities in China, and the traffic is maybe a problem, but which means we have quite plenty of the vehicles. And for this kind of service scenarios, it could be a really good use case for the 5G service, in my personal view.
Yeah, just staying with you a second, Yusong. So the value proposition here is, as Hugh mentioned earlier in his presentation, is partly taking the stress out of the situation for the consumer by reducing that friction. So from the insurance company's point of view, it's about a better customer experience, ultimately, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And do you anticipate that the insurance company would actually pay some kind of premium for that? So if we've got other operators listening into this, could they monetize that assurance, as it were?
Well, as an operator, I tend to say yes, because they have to pay to get that service. But to be serious, I do see it's a compelling service in the vertical markets or enterprise market, and we already did some service testing with the bank. which is located in Hebei province of China. And now we are reaching out to other companies like the insurance companies to have some use cases available as as an example to the whole industry. So yes, I'm really positive in that.
Got it.
David, you're muted.
You are muted.
Sorry, Javid. Yeah, let's come to you about the business potential of the 5G new calling in the Middle East. What kind of businesses do you think might be interested in the service in your market?
See, as discussed before, since it's a new one, right? So we have to see, like, it's like a mine. The new calling is like a mine now when we see all these use cases and everything, correct? So it has to be like propagate in a proper way, like in the device side, chip side, and even the network should support everything, right? So from my prediction, like in 2 to 3 years, it will be like a main service for the voice, where we are using all the services like OTTs on the same carrier where we are going to use it. So since in the Middle East, like most of the operators now are capable of VoLTE as well as Vivo 5G. So there is real potential in this one. So we have to see, because when you say as a business proposition, this, yes, we have to take it as a value added service for each and every sector now.
Yeah, and Javid, how important is, Sergio mentioned this, the problem with spoofing in Brazil, and how important is it to have this sort of assurance that the consumer is actually speaking to a real business? I think we all get sort of random mobile calls sometimes, and we don't know who's calling us.
Yeah, this is what makes, with the data channel, right? Once we have goes to the banking or for the insurance, this will make a cutting edge technology for us to go into the market, saying that yes, now there won't be because there will be a lot of spoof calls from the banks also, like they are telling that they are related to the bank, please provide the OTPs or something, right? We can avoid that one.
Yeah, got it. Huey, if I can come to you on that point, just so that our listeners really understand what we're talking about here. This is sort of equivalent of a blue tick, isn't it? A kind of authentication of the business that's making the call. So from a business point of view, it's saying, yeah, we are who we say we are. That's the idea, is it? Oh, Huey, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, yes. So I think what we are talking about is exactly what I want to show. So I think there will be to rebuild the B2C processes and also change some value chains, because we see that at this moment the carrier are completely bypass from the current service process, right? So there is only just an initial call between the consumer and the service company. And after that, normally, for example, whatever the insurance company or the bank company, a bank, if they want to introduce some new product to user. So I always receive several calls per week from all those bank or some car insurance company. They want to introduce new product to me. And during the call, they just ask, what's your WeChat number? So they want to just connect with me from the OTT, and they can send all those attractive content to me, not only just talking to me, right? They just want to persuade me to buy more services. But based on the current traditional call, of course, you can't persuade your user very easily, just only talking, right? You want to show more. You want to show a very beautiful future with attractive solution. All this content now can be transferred by the 5 new calling, by the video channel and by the data channel. Okay. So I think, and from, for example, the car assurance case. So I think carrier is not only just get some call fee like now. If one call can help car assurance company to save costs, for example, from 300 Chinese yuan, or let's say $50 to $8, they saved around $40. why carrier cannot ask for 10 of them or $5 of them from the reduced costs. So that's value operation, not just provide some core services. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks, Huey. You've brought us quite nicely into the topic of business models and monetization. So thank you for that. I'm just going to get both our operators, China Mobile and Zain Kuwait, to comment a little bit on that. Yusong, from China Mobile's perspective, is this potentially could 5G new calling create new revenue streams, essentially?
Yes, for that point, I'm confident in that point. On one hand, as I mentioned, in the last 10 years, we only provide real-time communication, very basic voice and video call. And now with 5G new calling, we can provide some new features, including like the phone calling or the real-time translation that's provided by operators. And that is one part of the new revenue. But the most important part is that by 5G new calling, we are not providing services on our own. In the legacy network, the operator provides the services end to end. The service itself is provided by the operator. However, with 5G new calling, we provide a platform. We provide a stage for the third-party services, and that could improve quite amount of the margin for the operators. So, it's open a new world for the operator service. That is my view. So, yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, got it. Just actually, if I can just drill down a little bit on that with you. So the main opportunity is to monetize from a B2C perspective. So you're creating a platform between businesses and consumers. That's more where the monetization opportunity is rather than consumer to consumer, I guess.
Exactly.
Got it. Yeah, so Javid, let's get you to comment on that as well from an operator perspective. Is this
yes, for sure I'm with Song, because yes, for sure there is a separate revenue stream for this one. And we see this as a new calling because there will be a lot of services, not only what we are talking about right now, right? Once the DC comes into the picture, there will be more opportunities will increase. We can bring into different markets, not only because now as a telecom operator, we are only for the voice and video. Then once we get into this one, yes, for sure, there will be multiple options to get into the revenues.
Yep. Got it. Thanks, Javid. Now let's talk about any potential barriers that you might see to broader adoption, whether that be support within devices or if you need, a faster standardization process. I think, Huey, if I can start with you on that, because you've probably got the broadest kind of global view. Are there any significant barriers that you anticipate?
Yeah. So if we are talking about 5G new calling, of course, it will be a very exciting new opportunity, but we need to start from the current basic MS network, which provide voice over IP and voice over NR. And we can see the VoLTE penetration is still quite low in global market. Right? If there is no VoLTE service, you can't make video call. If it's just some CS calling and only voice can be provided. So even, for example, some operators, they have already built MS network very well, and the VoLTE penetration is also quite good. But the next problem is MS interconnection, because at this moment, most carriers MS network, they are connected by CS technology. So when a call initiated to another call in another network, only voice can be offered. So we need to upgrade the whole networks to support IP interconnection. And also another, I think, barriers could be terminal. If we talk about data channel functions, of course, it will need support from chip provider and also terminal providers. So whole industry, I hope it can be accelerated to provide such kind of functions. Otherwise, so what we are talking about is just some, let's say, image. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Huey. Javed, if I could just come to you on that, because one of the things that Huey mentioned was, 5G, voice calling over 5G, 5G new
Correct.
radio. And I think you've done some work on that. So just get your
Yes, we are
comments
the
on
first
that.
we are the first with the Samsung S22. We went live with Vivo 5G. Okay. The thing for this, what I see is like example, the device supports, right? Like when we launched the VoLTE also and voice over Wi-Fi also, the main thing is the device which will control these things, right? For me, what I'm seeing for the new calling is also the same, but for sure it will take a time, but it will come into the market with the DC support for the UEs and the chipsets. So for the time being, as Zen Kuwait, we are ready to do the POC on the mid of the October. So we are going with the POC for a translation as well as lightening up.
So, sorry, Javed, just so I understand. So basically your network's ready. As the
Yes.
devices and the chipsets come through, then you're essentially ready to go. from that
Yes.
point of view.
So this is our first step going towards the new calling that we are doing the POC with our partners Huawei. So yeah, we are expecting that we'll do the first call mid of October.
Okay, thank you. We'll come back to a little bit of that actually just in a minute, but I just want to get you Song's thoughts on any significant barriers. Are there any? I mean, obviously China's got a very advanced 5G deployment, I think. But so from your perspective, are there any challenges that need to be resolved?
Well, regarding the challenges, I'm very in line with Hu Yun in the problem of the devices. I mean, it's true that in China we have widely developed 5G or even 4G multi-network which can support video calling. So, but based on that, we can only provide a subset of the service features that we imagined for the 5G new calling, which are based on the service video calls. And for the interactive data channel based service, we cannot with the legacy phones. So we do require a large ratio of the support of MS data channel from the terminal side. Imagine there's only 10% of the terminals in the field can support MS data channel simply, which means I have little chance to make a data channel call with anybody else. So I think the most important thing is still the terminal, and yes, we have from time to time encourage the terminal and chipset industry to catch up on the steps of the 5G new calling. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a real pattern in the mobile industry with new services that devices are often the bottleneck, as it were. But yeah, no, it sounds like that is something that you are working on. Now, just as we're sort of running towards the end of the webinar, I just want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen next. And maybe I'll start with you, Sergio. What are your plans in Brazil with 5G new calling? What are your next steps?
I hope the functionality 5G can be used together in other solutions, for example, with generative AI. I hope and that does not take too long to happen. This is my expectative.
Just staying on that, is it your kind of sense that you can move forward this year or next year? What's the sort of time frame you've got in mind?
I have some initiatives in this year for use the some features. For example, Talent ID. Talent ID is how do say a few minutes ago is a big problem. I find some solutions uh, today in Brazil for solve the problem, and I hope this find uh, solve the problem in the short term for because this problem is very important for us. And nowadays is the big problem. I find a solution, and when I have opportunity to use 5G.
Great, thanks, Sergio. Got it. Yusong, I'm going to come back to you about your immediate priorities now. What are you hoping to achieve by the end of this year and maybe next year as well in terms of 5G new calling?
Well, as I mentioned, by the end of this year, the target is to launch the 5G new calling, the initial phase of the service, by the end of this year across the whole network, which means 31 provinces within China mainland. That is the target for this year. And in the recent 2 years, we have been working mainly on the consumer market service. And I believe next year we will pay more attention to the vertical or business enterprise market to launch some new services respectively. And that is my anticipation for the next year.
Yusong, can I just ask you from a global perspective, from a standardization perspective as well? I'm going to ask Hugh too on this point. Are there particular milestones that we need to look out for in 2023, 2024 from a standardization perspective?
Yes, I guess you mean 3GPP mainly. And for release 18, the stage 2 work has been finalized this year in June. And now we are working on the stage 3 part in the CT working groups in 3GPP regarding the 5G new calling, or NGRTC. That is the title of the thing in 3GPP. And the stage 3 of release 18 will be frozen in June next year. And meanwhile, as I mentioned during my presentation, we are starting the study in the release 19 work, which will enhance the NGRTC network a bit. And that work will a little bit long, and I believe the stage 2 work will be finalized in 2025. And for 2026, I think you will have the full version of release 19 NGRTC, including stage 3. That is the time plan.
So, and that would create the certainty, I guess, for the device ecosystem, the chipset manufacturers that they need, and the clarity. Thanks, Yusong. So, Javid, let's come to you. Just you mentioned the proof of concept that you've got coming up. Yes. If that goes well? What's the next steps? What's the plan?
Yeah, it's purely on the marketing now. So that because once we have to go through this POC, we can able to showcase that one. Yes, this is the things we can able to put it into the market, and let's see how it goes. So we are just finger crossed to see that how the POC goes on, because we are bringing all the things into this one. So let's hope for the best.
Great, thank you. Right, let's go, Huey. I want to get, first of all, just to talk a little bit because we haven't really touched on this, but some of the more futuristic use cases for 5G new calling, maybe around mixed reality or using augmented reality, etc. First of all, what kind of time frame do you anticipate for that sort of advanced applications, let's say?
Yeah, okay. So if we talk about such kind of advanced use cases, so we can see both China Mobile and ZenQuid, they are all build a very good VoLTE network. So as I just mentioned, I believe that the phase 1 for a lot of carriers, they need to look at the VoLTE network development. They need to increase VoLTE penetration rate at least to over 70%. In another hand, for example, in China Mobile, the VoLTE penetration is already reached more than 90%. It's quite a good network. So, and in release 19, also we can solve VoLTE roaming or new calling roaming, right? And cross carrier network interworking, such kind of thing. So phase 2 will be a basis. Then if you talk about the use cases, I think the first step will be intelligent calling, which will enhance intelligence capabilities and some, let's say, terminal agnostic services. It will not rely on data channel terminals. All these kind of intelligent call services just to improve user experience and expand the user base, to shape the user habit, to keep them still using carrier network. They will be the first step. For example, a vendor when lighting up the screen during a voice call. This will be a very typical case. And the next step will be interactive calling, because this service will depend on data channel capable terminals. So if we say intelligent calling will be available now. As long as your voting network is ready, you can already launch intelligent calling. But for the interactive calling, I think by end of this year, there will be data channel terminals launched first.
I'm not hearing Huey now, actually. I seem to have lost his audio. Son, can you hear Huey?
No, seems he's disconnected somehow.
Yeah, I think he may have frozen. Well, we're actually, that's a shame, but we're actually nearing the end of the webinar anyway. And actually, I need to to wrap things up. So if Huey comes back, I'll give him a chance to finish his remarks. But in the meantime, I'd like to thank all the speakers. It's been a really interesting discussion, and also thank the audience for their time and attention as well. If I could just draw your attention to some upcoming GSMA webinars and other events. You can see them on the slides now. We have an event coming up in Las Vegas very soon, actually, or two events in Las Vegas, the 5G Future Summit, the GSMA Foundry networking event as well. And there's also the Mobile World Live Unwrapped webinar that you can see on your screen. That's in November. You can scan the QR codes to get more information or register for those webinars. So please do look out for those. And also there's a lot of information about 5G new calling on the GSMA website, and a lot of resources there. I think we mentioned the case studies earlier that show you some of the potential value propositions for this service. If we can just flick to the next slide, please. Yeah, it's as the slide says, it's really just to say thank you and to conclude the webinar. So thanks once again to our speakers, and thank you for your time and attention today.